Hey, I'm really glad you're here. Take a moment to get comfortable wherever you are. Let your shoulders relax and let the day gently fall away. You don't need to do anything right now. Just listen and let the story unfold at its own pace. Whenever you're ready, we'll begin.
The midnight rail through silent forests. Midnight departure. The quiet platform. Take a slow breath in and let it drift out gently. Tonight, we begin at a small railway platform tucked somewhere deep within America's quiet countryside. A place not marked loudly on maps, not hurried by crowds, and not troubled by the rush of daylight schedules. It is just past midnight. The world feels paused. The platform lamps glow with a soft amber light, casting warm halos onto wooden benches polished smooth by years of waiting travelers. Beyond the tracks, the forest stands tall and patient, its pines and oaks forming dark silhouettes against a sky brushed with silver starlight. There is no wind. Only stillness, and somewhere far off, the faint, comforting hum of a train preparing to arrive. You stand at the edge of the platform, a small leather suitcase resting beside your shoes. It is not heavy. Inside are only the simplest things: a folded sweater, a favorite book, and a small envelope containing no destination, only an invitation. The invitation had arrived earlier that evening, slipped quietly beneath your door. Midnight rail, one journey, no hurry, no return time, no expectations, just a ride. The wooden sign above the platform reads softly, "Midnight rail through silent forests." The letters appear hand-painted, slightly worn, as if the station itself prefers to remain unnoticed by the hurried world. Crickets sing their steady rhythm from the tall grasses beyond the gravel path. Somewhere deeper in the forest, an owl offers a low, thoughtful call. You feel no urgency, only a gentle curiosity, a warmth in your chest that tells you this journey is not about distance, but about drifting. The rails begin to hum. The vibration, subtle and soothing, travels through the soles of your shoes. Then, slowly, from the curve of the forest track, a glow appears. Not a harsh headlight, but a lantern-like gleam, golden and steady. The midnight rail approaches without roar or rush. Its engine seems to glide rather than thunder. Steam curls upward like soft breath into the cool night air, glowing faintly in the lamplight. The train itself is unlike the hurried commuter lines of the cities. Its cars are deep forest green, trimmed with brass that gleams warmly under the stars. Each window emits a gentle honey-colored light, as though fireplaces flicker within. The train slows, not with screeching brakes, but with a patient sigh. It comes to rest before you, perfectly aligned with the platform's worn wooden edge. For a moment, everything is still. Then the door of the nearest carriage opens with a quiet click. A small set of polished steps unfolds, and from within the doorway steps a conductor. He is neither young nor old, simply timeless. He wears a deep navy coat with brass buttons and a cap that sits comfortably above kind, observant eyes. His presence carries the calm of someone who has traveled many miles without ever being rushed. He tips his hat slightly. "Good evening," he says, voice low and warm. "We've been expecting you. You do not remember purchasing a ticket, and yet when you reach into your coat pocket, your fingers find a small card. Midnight Rail, 1 passenger window seat." The conductor smiles knowingly. "No need to hurry," he adds gently. "This train never rushes." You pick up your suitcase. The wooden boards of the platform creak softly beneath your steps. Each movement feels deliberate, unhurried, as though time itself has softened around you. As you climb the steps, you notice something comforting. The scent, warm cedarwood, a hint of cinnamon, and the faint sweetness of something baking, perhaps apple pie cooling somewhere deep within the train's dining carriage. Inside, the air feels warmer than the night outside. Soft lanterns hang along the walls. Their light is not electric, but golden and living, as though fueled by a quiet magic. The seats are wide and cushioned, upholstered in deep burgundy velvet. Brass coat hooks line the walls. Small tables rest between facing seats, each holding a tiny glass vase with a single wildflower. No one else appears hurried. In fact, there are only a few other passengers. A woman wrapped in a soft wool shawl sits by a window, gazing peacefully at the forest as though watching memories drift by. Across the aisle, an elderly man with silver hair and gentle eyes reads from a leather-bound book, though he turns each page slowly, as if savoring every word. Farther down the carriage, a young traveler rests with their head against the glass, already halfway into dreams. No one speaks loudly. There is no phone ringing, no announcements echo overhead, only the soft hum of the engine, steady, reassuring. The conductor gestures toward a window seat near the center of the car. "Your place," he says quietly. You settle into the velvet cushion. It welcomes you like a familiar armchair by a fireplace. Outside the window, the forest waits in layers of shadow and silver light. The conductor gives one small nod. The door closes gently, and without a jolt, without a sudden lurch, the midnight rail begins to move. The platform slowly drifts away. The amber lamps fade into smaller and smaller glows. And then you are surrounded by forest. Tall pines stretch toward the stars. Their branches sway almost imperceptibly, though the air remains calm. The tracks curve gently, guiding the train deeper into the quiet woods. The rhythmic sound of wheels against rail begins its steady lullaby. Click, clack, click, clack, each repetition even, each movement smooth. The forest does not feel dark in a frightening way. It feels protective. The trees lean inward slightly, forming a corridor of safety. Moonlight spills in pale ribbons across moss-covered ground. Here and there, fireflies flicker like drifting embers. The train glides over a small wooden bridge. Below, a narrow river reflects the stars. You feel your shoulders relax. The tension you may have carried from the day, emails, conversations, unfinished lists, begins to loosen its grip. There is no signal here, no notifications, only motion. only night. A soft knock at your table draws your attention. The conductor stands beside you once more, holding a small porcelain cup. Chamomile and honey, he says, for restful travels. You accept it gratefully. The cup is warm between your palms. Steam curls upward in delicate spirals. The first sip is gentle, floral, soothing, slightly sweet. It feels as though the warmth spreads not just through your body, but through your thoughts. Outside, the forest grows denser. The trees appear taller, but never threatening. The midnight rail seems to know every curve of the track, every bend in the land. It does not hurry through tunnels, it breathes through them. It does not rush past clearings. It lingers just long enough for you to notice the way moonlight pools in the grass. Somewhere in the distance, a deer lifts its head as the train passes, but it does not flee. It simply watches. The owl calls again, closer this time. The steady rhythm of the rails continues. Click, clack, click, clack. The woman in the shawl closes her eyes, her reflection faint in the glass. The elderly man's book lowers slightly as he drifts into a soft doze. Even the lantern light seems to dim a little, not in darkness, but in invitation. You rest your head gently against the seat. The velvet is cool at first, then warm. The movement of the train becomes almost like breathing. Forward, steady, calm. The conductor walks quietly through the carriage, adjusting a lantern here, straightening a curtain there. His steps are nearly silent. Outside, the forest begins to change. The pines give way to tall silver birch trees, their white bark glowing softly beneath the moon. Moss grows thicker along the forest floor, and small clusters of wildflowers, pale blue and lavender, shimmer faintly as though touched by starlight. You notice something unusual. The deeper the train travels, the more the forest seems to glow, not brightly, but gently. As though the trees themselves are dreaming, you take another sip of tea. Warmth spreads again. The envelope in your suitcase, the one with no destination, rests quietly in your thoughts. You realize something comforting. This train does not require you to know where you are going. It only asks you to sit, to breathe, to allow the journey. The wheels continue their lullaby. Click, clack, click, clack. The forest grows quieter still. Even the crickets have softened their song. The sky above becomes deeper, richer, a navy velvet scattered with steady stars. You begin to feel lighter, not floating, but unburdened. The midnight rail carries not just passengers, it carries worries away from them. Each mile traveled seems to gently loosen something unseen. A memory that felt heavy earlier now feels distant. A concern that seemed urgent now feels manageable. The rhythm continues. Click, clack, your breathing matches it. In, out, in, out. The conductor pauses at the end of the carriage and looks back once, ensuring all is well. He offers one final nod, as though satisfied that the journey has begun exactly as it should. Outside, the forest opens briefly into a wide clearing. In the center stands a lone oak tree, ancient and strong. Moonlight pours over it like silver silk. As the train glides past, you could almost believe the tree bows slightly in greeting, and then the forest closes again. denser, softer. The lantern beside your seat flickers gently, not fading, just dimming enough to encourage rest. The teacup now rests empty on the small wooden table. Your suitcase sits quietly at your feet. There is nothing more you need to prepare, nothing more you need to plan. The midnight rail carries you deeper into silent forests and closer to sleep. The rhythm softens. Click, clack, click, slower now. Or perhaps your thoughts have slowed. Your eyelids grow heavier. Outside, the trees blur into a soft watercolor of shadow and moonlight. The train continues its steady path. Warm, cozy, unhurried, and as the midnight rail disappears deeper into the silent forest, carrying its quiet passengers through the gentle hush of night, you drift. Not suddenly, not sharply, but softly, like the forest itself exhaling. Chapter 1 continues onward into the trees and you, dear traveler. Rest peacefully as the rails hum beneath you, through silent forests, whispers of pine and moss. Take another slow breath in, let it settle gently in your chest, and release it slowly. The midnight rail continues its unhurried glide through the deepening forest. As outside your window, the trees grow taller, their trunks rising like cathedral pillars beneath a wide American night sky. Pines stretch endlessly upward, their needles whispering in voices too soft to fully hear, yet somehow understood. The rhythm of the train remains steady. Click, clack, click, clack. It is a sound older than highways, older than city lights, a lullaby carved from iron and distance. The lantern beside your seat now glows lower, its golden light resting like a blanket over the velvet cushions. The air carries a subtle fragrance of evergreen sap and cool earth, as though the forest itself has been invited aboard. You notice something new. The windows no longer reflect only your own image. They seem deeper now. It's almost as if the glass is thinner, or the night outside has come closer. The midnight rail curves gently along a bend in the track. Beyond the pines, the forest floor dips into a shallow valley where mist gathers like drifting silk. The mist does not feel cold. It feels protective. The train enters it without hesitation. Soft vapor swirls around the wheels and rises past the windows in slow, curling ribbons. Moonlight filters through the haze, turning everything silver blue. Inside the carriage, no one stirs in alarm. The woman in the wool shawl now sleeps peacefully, her hands folded loosely in her lap. The elderly reader's book has closed completely, resting against his chest as he breathes in deep, even patterns. The midnight rail hums on. You shift slightly in your seat, adjusting your head against the cushion. The velvet feels warmer now, shaped perfectly to you. Outside, shapes begin to appear in the mist. At first, they seem like shadows of trees, but then you see it clearly. The fox steps from between two pines. Its coat glows copper beneath the moonlight. It pauses near the tracks, not startled, not afraid. Its bright eyes follow the train with quiet curiosity. For a moment, you feel as though it sees you. Not the carriage, not the train, you. And then it turns gently and disappears back into the forest. The mist thins. the forest changes again. Now the pines are joined by towering redwoods, massive and ancient, their bark textured like time itself. They stand so tall their tops vanish into darkness. The midnight rail seems smaller here, but not insignificant. It moves respectfully, as though honoring the age of these woods. You notice tiny lights flickering between the trunks, fireflies, though larger than usual. Their glow is steady, not blinking, as if they are lanterns carried by unseen hands. They drift lazily through the air, weaving quiet patterns between branches. The train slows slightly, not stopping, just easing, as if allowing you to see and hear and breathe. The wheels soften their rhythm. Click, clack, click. Somewhere ahead, water can be heard, a low, flowing murmur. The forest opens once more, revealing a wide river running parallel to the tracks. Its surface reflects the sky so perfectly that for a moment it feels as though the train is traveling between two heavens, one above, one below. Stars shimmer in both directions. The conductor appears quietly beside you once more. He does not speak immediately. Instead, he stands with his hands folded gently behind his back, looking out at the river. "It remembers," he says softly. You glance toward him, but his eyes remain on the water. "All forests remember," he continues. Every traveler, every whisper, every midnight rail that has passed through. His voice is calm, like distant thunder far beyond the hills. You wonder how many journeys this train has taken, how many sleepless nights it has softened, how many restless hearts it has carried gently into quiet. The conductor finally turns toward you. "You may notice," he says, "that the deeper we travel, the lighter you feel." He tips his hat slightly. That is not an accident. Then, as quietly as he arrived, he moves down the aisle once more. You look back to the river. Something remarkable happens. The reflection in the water no longer shows only stars. It shows scenes. Soft images drifting across the surface like dreams projected onto silk. A childhood memory running through sprinklers on a summer evening. A warm kitchen filled with laughter. As a road trip beneath wide western skies. The images do not demand attention. They simply pass by. Gentle, unburdened, you feel no sadness, only warmth. The midnight rail crosses a long iron bridge over the river. The sound changes here, deeper, hollow, resonant. Thumb, thumb, thumb. The echo is soothing, like a slow heartbeat. On the far side of the bridge, the landscape shifts once more. The trees thin into a meadow blanketed in tall grass that sways though there is no visible wind. The moon hangs low and full now, large and luminous. And in the center of the meadow, a small cottage. Its windows glow amber. Smoke curls lazily from its chimney. As the train passes, the cottage door opens. An elderly woman steps out onto the porch, wrapped in a knitted shawl. She lifts one hand and waves gently toward the train. You feel a strange familiarity, as though you have known her once, or perhaps you will. The train does not stop, but it slows enough for the moment to stretch. Then the meadow fades behind you. The forest returns. Now quieter than ever. The lantern beside you dims another degree. The carriage feels warmer, heavier with comfort. You notice your breathing has deepened, slowed, matched perfectly with the rhythm of the rails. Click, clack, click, clack. Your thoughts begin to drift more freely now. They no longer form full sentences. They arrive like soft fragments, pine needles glistening with dew, the scent of moss after rain, the feeling of cool sheets on a summer night. Outside, the forest grows enchanted. The trees now carry faint bioluminescent patterns along their bark, subtle glowing veins of pale blue and green. Mushrooms cluster at their bases, emitting gentle halos of light. It is not bright, it is dreamlike. The midnight rail moves as though it belongs here. As though these tracks were laid not by steel, but by starlight. The elderly man across the aisle exhales softly, fully asleep now. The woman in the shawl shifts slightly but does not wake. Farther down, the young traveler smiles faintly in dreams. The entire carriage feels like a cradle. Rocking gently, protectively, outside a clearing appears ahead, larger than the others. At its center stands a circle of standing stones, ancient, smooth, arranged in perfect symmetry. The train slows once more as it passes. The stones begin to glow faintly as the midnight rail approaches, acknowledging its presence. You feel a soft hum in the air, not loud, not startling, just a resonance, like two familiar notes meeting in harmony. For a moment, it feels as though time has paused completely. The train glides between the stones without touching them, and as it passes the final marker, the glow fades back into stillness. The forest beyond feels deeper than any before, but also safer, as if you have crossed an invisible threshold. The conductor's voice echoes gently from somewhere unseen. "Rest now," he says. "Let the forest carry what you no longer need." Your shoulders sink further into the seat. Your hands rest loosely. Your eyelids grow heavier. Outside, the glowing mushrooms and luminous bark begin to blur into soft streaks of color. The train's rhythm slows slightly once more. Click, clack, click, clack, your breathing follows. In, out, the midnight rail moves deeper still into silent forests where no maps reach and no clocks tick. Here, there is only gentle motion, only warmth. It's only the quiet understanding that you are exactly where you need to be. The lantern beside you lowers to its softest glow. The velvet beneath you feels like a cloud woven from memory and moss. And outside, the forest whispers one final lullaby, not in words, but in presence. In stillness, in safety, the midnight rail continues onward, and you drift further into comfort, further into dreams, carried gently through the silent forests of midnight, lanterns on velvet tracks where dreams begin to hum. Take a slow, easy breath in and let it go gently. The midnight rail continues its quiet journey, gliding deeper into lands where night feels softer than silk and time moves like a slow river under moonlight. The forest outside has grown hushed, not empty, not silent in absence, but silent in contentment. The tall pines and redwoods now stand farther apart, allowing the sky to open wider above the train. Stars scatter across the American night like powdered sugar over dark velvet. Inside the carriage, the lanterns glow warmer than before. Their golden light reflects gently off the brass trim and polished wood panels. The train does not feel mechanical here. It feels alive, as though each wheel turn is a breath, each lantern flicker a heartbeat. Click, clack, click, clack. The rhythm is slower now. Not because the train has slowed dramatically, but because your mind has. You feel the steady hum beneath your feet, a vibration so subtle it resembles the purring of some enormous, peaceful creature carrying you forward through the night. The conductor moves quietly down the aisle once more. He adjusts one lantern, then another, ensuring their light is dimmed just enough for comfort. When he reaches your seat, he pauses. "You may notice," he says in a tone barely above a whisper, "that the tracks themselves are beginning to glow." You glance down, curious. And he is right. Through the edge of the window, you can see the rails faintly shimmering, not brightly, but softly, as though moonlight has soaked into the steel. "Velvet tracks," he adds gently. "They appear when travelers are ready to dream." He offers a reassuring nod before stepping away. You lean slightly toward the window. The rails no longer look cold or hard. They reflect a deep, silvery blue sheen, like brushed satin under starlight. Each time the wheels roll over them, a faint trail of light follows, not sparks, but something smoother. A glowing ripple that fades slowly behind you. The forest has changed again. The trees here are shorter, with broad, rounded canopies. Their leaves shimmer faintly as though dusted with frost, though the air is not cold. Fireflies drift lazily between branches, their glow steady and unhurried. Ahead, you notice something new. Lanterns, not the train's lanterns, but dozens of them suspended in the forest, hanging from branches, floating midair, resting upon stones. Each lantern emits the same warm golden light as those inside the carriage. They do not sway wildly. They hover calmly, as if welcoming the midnight rail deeper into their quiet gathering. The train slows just slightly as it passes through this illuminated corridor. The effect is mesmerizing. Lantern light filters through your window in soft waves, moving across your seat, your hands, your closed eyelids. Each flicker feels like a gentle tap on the shoulder, not to wake you, but to reassure you. You begin to notice a new sound. Beneath the click and clack of the wheels, a hum. Low, soft, almost melodic. It is not coming from the engine. It is coming from the tracks. The velvet tracks are humming, not loudly, just enough to blend with the rhythm of the train. It feels like a lullaby with no words, a vibration of comfort. The woman in the wool shawl smiles faintly in her sleep. The elderly man exhales deeply, sinking further into dreams. Even the young traveler at the far end of the carriage shifts slightly, settling into deeper rest. The hum grows warmer, more layered. You feel it resonate gently through your chest, as if your own heartbeat is syncing with it. Outside, the forest floor glows faintly now, tiny bioluminescent flowers blooming in clusters along the path of the train. They open as the midnight rail passes, then close softly after it moves on. The lanterns hanging in the trees begin to drift closer to the tracks. One by one, they align gently above the rails, forming a glowing archway that stretches ahead into the darkness. The midnight rail glides beneath them. Each lantern you pass emits a barely audible tone, like a single piano key pressed softly, one note at a time. And together they create a melody, slow, gentle, perfectly spaced. Your breathing deepens again. In out, the hum of the velvet tracks blends with the lantern melody. The effect is hypnotic, not in a dramatic way, but in the way waves hypnotize the shore. Steady, predictable, safe. You rest your head more fully against the cushion. The velvet no longer feels like fabric. It feels like cloud. The lantern nearest you dims slightly more, as if sensing your readiness to drift. Outside, the trees part suddenly into a wide open field. But this field is unlike any before. It glows faintly, not from moonlight, but from thousands of tiny floating lights hovering just above the grass. They look like stars that have descended to Earth. As the midnight rail moves through the center of the field, cutting a gentle path between the glowing orbs. As it does, the lights begin to follow, not chasing, simply accompanying. They float alongside the train at window height, keeping pace without effort. You watch one drift close to your glass. Its light pulses slowly, like breathing. For a moment, it feels as though it recognizes you. Then it floats upward and rejoins the others. The conductor's voice echoes softly from the far end of the carriage. "This is where dreams begin to hum," he says. As the phrase settles into the air like a blessing, you realize something remarkable. You are no longer thinking about tomorrow or yesterday. You are not planning, not remembering. You are simply here, carried, held. The velvet tracks glow brighter for a moment, illuminating the underside of the carriage with a soft halo. The hum deepens slightly, like a choir of distant voices singing without words. The floating lights begin to arrange themselves into shapes in the sky above the train. First, simple patterns. Then constellations, but not the usual ones found in astronomy books. These constellations form images of comfort: a rocking chair on a porch, a steaming mug on a wooden table, a blanket folded neatly at the foot of a bed. Each image glows briefly, then dissolves gently back into drifting stars. The midnight rail does not stop. It glides onward, steady and sure. The lantern archway fades behind you as the forest slowly returns, but something has changed. The trees now carry tiny lanterns of their own, glowing fruits hanging from branches like warm ornaments. The path ahead is softly illuminated without effort. The hum continues, steady, comforting. You notice that the train's movement has become almost imperceptible. There is no jostling, no sway. It feels as though you are floating rather than rolling. The conductor appears once more beside your seat. He kneels slightly so his voice remains gentle and close. The forest knows when a traveler is ready, he says softly. It lowers its lanterns. It hums its oldest songs. He reaches up and adjusts the small curtain beside your window, drawing it halfway closed. Rest, he adds. His footsteps fade. Outside, the glowing fruits dim slightly, shifting from gold to soft amber. The velvet tracks still shimmer faintly beneath the carriage. Click, clack, the sound is now distant. As though wrapped in cotton, your eyelids grow heavier, heavier still. The lantern beside you lowers to its faintest glow, just enough to warm the space without lighting it. The hum softens into something barely perceptible. You are aware of it, but it no longer requires your attention. As the midnight rail continues deeper into the silent forests, carrying you through corridors of floating lanterns and velvet tracks that glow with patient light. Your breathing is slow now, even, unhurried. In, out, outside, the forest grows darker again, but not in a way that feels empty. It feels like a blanket being drawn up gently to your chin. The last floating lantern drifts upward into the trees. The velvet tracks dim. The hum fades into stillness. And the midnight rail glides forward, quiet, warm, safe, where dreams no longer wait to begin. They have already begun humming, and you drift softly with them, carried gently through the night. The starlit conductor stories at the windowed glen. Take a slow breath in, hold it for just a moment, and let it ease out gently. As the midnight rail moves onward, deeper into the quiet heart of the forest, the hum of the velvet tracks has softened now, blending almost completely with the steady rhythm beneath you. Click, clack, click, clack. It is slower than before, or perhaps it is simply that you have slowed. The carriage feels dimmer now, wrapped in a warm amber hush. Most of the passengers are fully asleep. The woman in the shawl rests peacefully, her head tilted slightly toward the window. The elderly reader's silver hair catches the lantern light as he breathes in slow, even patterns. The young traveler down the aisle is motionless, dreaming somewhere far beyond the rails. You feel yourself suspended between wakefulness and sleep, that gentle, floating place where thoughts are soft and edges blur. Outside the window, the forest begins to open. The trees thin gradually, making way for a wide glen bathed in silver moonlight. The grass here grows long and smooth, swaying in a breeze you cannot quite feel. The sky above is vast, stretching endlessly across the American night, deeper than navy, richer than ink, scattered with countless stars. The midnight rail slows, not to stop, just enough to linger, and then you notice him. The conductor stands at the end of the carriage, his silhouette outlined by starlight streaming through the rear window. His cap rests in his hands now, not on his head. Without the lantern glow around him, he appears almost luminous, as though the stars themselves have lent him their light. He walks toward you quietly. His footsteps make no sound. When he reaches your seat, he gestures gently toward the window. "Look closely," he says in a voice that carries both distance and warmth. "This is the windowed glen." You turn your gaze outward. The glen seems ordinary at first: grass, a few scattered trees, moonlight stretching long shadows across the earth. But then, the grass begins to shimmer, not all at once, just small patches. Tiny lights flicker to life at the tips of each blade like dewdrops catching starlight. The effect spreads outward slowly until the entire glen glows faintly, a soft, silver-green luminescence that moves like breath across the field. The train continues gliding, parallel to the glowing meadow. The conductor speaks again. Every traveler sees something different here, he explains. The forest offers a story, one you may have forgotten. His eyes reflect the shimmering grass, or perhaps one you have yet to live. You watch carefully. The glowing blades begin to bend and weave together, forming patterns in the meadow. At first abstract, curves and spirals, but gradually taking shape. A porch swing appears in light. It rocks gently, though no one sits upon it. A small dog curls at its base, breathing softly in sleep. The image dissolves. Another forms. It's a quiet lakeside dock at sunset, water rippling gently against wooden posts. The air in the carriage feels warmer now. Your eyelids grow heavier, but you do not want to miss what comes next. The conductor leans lightly against the seat across from you. Stories are not always loud, he says softly. Some are meant to be felt, not followed. Outside, the meadow shifts again. Now the glowing grass rises higher, forming hills of light. Upon one hill, a small child lies on their back, staring at the stars. Fireflies gather above them like drifting constellations. You feel something familiar stir inside you, not sadness, not longing, just recognition. The conductor watches your expression. The glen does not show regrets, he assures gently. Only warmth. The child's image fades. In its place, the meadow reveals a cabin window glowing amber in winter snow. Smoke curls lazily from its chimney. Inside, silhouettes move slowly, someone stirring soup, someone reading by the fire. The midnight rail continues its patient glide along the edge of the windowed glen. The lantern beside your seat flickers once, then steadies. The conductor removes a small silver pocket watch from his coat. He does not open it. He simply holds it loosely in his palm. Time behaves differently here, he murmurs. Minutes stretch like soft taffy. Hours fold gently into one another. He slips the watch back into his pocket. Outside, the meadow grows even brighter for a brief moment, as though the stars themselves have descended closer to Earth. Then, from the center of the glen, a new shape begins to form. It is a train, not this one, another, smaller, older, steam rising softly from its engine as it crosses the meadow without tracks. Its windows glow warmly, just like yours. You watch it pass silently across the field of light. Some journeys happen more than once, the conductor says. In memory, in dreams, in quiet moments before sleep. The image fades gently into shimmering grass once more. The midnight rail begins to curve away from the glen. The glowing field slowly recedes behind you, but before it disappears entirely, one final image forms at the meadow's edge. It is simple, a window, lit from within, curtains swaying slightly. The kind of window you might see from outside your own home on a calm evening, a quiet symbol of rest and belonging. The conductor straightens slightly. "That one," he says softly, "is always waiting." The window image fades into darkness as the forest begins to close in once more. Tall trees line the tracks again, their branches arching overhead like protective arms. The glow of the meadow diminishes behind you, replaced by the deeper shadows of pine and oak. The carriage grows quieter still. Even the hum of the velvet tracks feels distant now. The conductor replaces his cap upon his head. "We are nearing the softest part of the journey," he says gently, "where even stories grow tired." He offers you a small, knowing smile. Then he steps away down the aisle, disappearing into the dim rear of the carriage. Outside, the forest now carries only faint light, a thin wash of moonlight filtering between trunks. The trees no longer glow with bioluminescence. They simply stand, still and steady. The rhythm of the rails slows slightly. Click, clack, click, your breathing matches it again. In, out, the lantern beside you dims further, now little more than a golden ember. Your head grows heavier against the velvet cushion. The images from the windowed glen drift gently through your thoughts: porch swings, lake docks, glowing cabin windows, but they no longer feel like scenes to watch. They feel like warmth, like blankets folded neatly at the foot of your mind. The midnight rail glides deeper still. No rush, no destination announced, just motion, soft and certain. Outside, the sky grows darker, the stars fainter as thin clouds drift slowly overhead. The forest thickens, branches weaving a canopy that shields the tracks from even moonlight. The carriage is now nearly dark. Only the faintest lantern glow remains. The elderly man shifts once, sighing contentedly. The woman in the shawl does not move at all. The young traveler's breathing is deep and even. You feel yourself sinking further, not falling, just settling. The velvet seat cradles you. The rails hum softly beneath. And somewhere ahead, beyond the trees, beyond even the next curve, the midnight rail continues. Steady, warm, guided by a starlit conductor who knows every bend in the forest. And as the train carries you onward through the quietest stretch of night, you drift closer to that softly glowing window, the one always waiting, the one filled with rest, the one that feels like home. Dawn's soft promise, homeward drift into sleep. Take one more slow breath in, let it fill your chest gently, and release it unhurried. The midnight rail continues its steady glide through the deepest hush of the forest. The carriage is nearly dark now, wrapped in the kind of quiet that feels like a blanket pulled carefully to your shoulders. Click, clack, click, clack. The sound is softer than ever, rounded at the edges. Like distant waves touching a calm shore, you are no longer fully awake, but you are not entirely asleep either. You float somewhere in between, carried, supported, safe. Outside the window, the forest begins to thin again. The tall pines step back gradually, replaced by wide open stretches of meadow brushed with pale mist. The sky above is still deep navy, but something has changed. At the far edge of the horizon, a faint silver line appears. Not bright, not sudden, just a whisper of light. Dawn is preparing its arrival. The midnight rail does not rush toward it. It does not hurry the night away. Instead, it moves in harmony with the turning sky, as if it has traveled this exact stretch of track countless times before. Inside the carriage, the lantern beside you has dimmed to its final ember glow. It flickers once, then steadies again, enough to warm the space without asking for attention. The conductor appears once more, though you do not see him arrive. He stands quietly at the front of the carriage, looking ahead through the curved glass of the engine window. His silhouette is calm against the faint silver horizon. He does not speak immediately. He simply rests one gloved hand against the polished brass rail beside him. Outside, the mist over the meadow begins to move. It rolls gently across the grass in soft waves, parting before the train like a curtain opening for a final act. The rails beneath you no longer glow with velvet shimmer. They look like ordinary steel again. But their rhythm remains comforting. Click, clack, click, clack. You notice your breathing has grown even slower. In, out, the sky lightens another shade, from deep navy to muted indigo, from indigo to a quiet gray-blue. The stars begin to fade, not disappearing all at once, but softening, as if slipping behind a thin veil. The midnight rail passes a small pond now. Its surface is perfectly still, reflecting the first pale hints of dawn. A single duck glides across the water, leaving a delicate ripple behind. The world feels gentle here, unhurried, like the early mornings of countryside towns before the first coffee brews and before the first porch light clicks off. The conductor finally speaks, his voice carrying easily through the quiet carriage. "Every journey must return," he says softly, but there is no sadness in his tone, only certainty. "Not to where it began," he continues, "but to where it feels right." You sense that the train is no longer traveling deeper into forest. It is circling outward now, tracing a wide arc back towards something familiar. The meadow gives way to rolling hills. Wooden fences stretch across the landscape in neat lines. A red barn stands quietly at the crest of one hill, its paint gently faded by seasons. The windows glow faintly with interior warmth. You feel something shift inside you, not awakening, not exactly, but a soft recognition. The midnight rail glides past a farmhouse porch where a rocking chair sways gently in the early breeze. The lantern still burns beside the door, its light golden against the pale morning. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster calls, not sharply, but gently, as if even sound itself understands that this is a slow morning. The conductor walks down the aisle once more. He pauses beside each sleeping passenger, adjusting a blanket here, dimming a lantern there. When he reaches you, he does not wake you. He simply rests his hand lightly on the top of the seat in front of you, a gesture of quiet reassurance. "We are nearly there," he murmurs, "but you no longer feel concerned about where there might be. The train begins to slow slightly, not with a jolt, not with a brake squeal, just a subtle easing. The rhythm shifts, click, clack, click, clack. Longer pauses between each turn of the wheels. Outside, the sky brightens into soft pastel hues, pale peach, gentle rose, the faintest gold brushing the edge of the hills. Birdsong begins, not a chorus, just one voice at first, then another. Light, tentative notes that weave together into a quiet morning melody. The midnight rail rounds one final bend in the track, and there, ahead in the distance, you see it. A small wooden platform, not grand, not crowded. Just a quiet station nestled at the edge of the countryside. Amber lamps still glow faintly beneath its overhang, though dawn light now touches the edges of the roof. The sign above the platform reads softly, "Midnight Rail, the same platform where you began." And yet, it feels different now, warmer, more familiar. The train slows further. The meadow mist thins completely. The rails hum one last time. Then, with a gentle sigh, the midnight rail comes to rest. Stillness settles over everything. The engine releases a soft plume of steam that rises and disappears into the cool morning air. Inside the carriage, no one stirs abruptly. There is no loud announcement, no rush to gather belongings. The conductor steps toward the door and opens it slowly. Fresh morning air drifts inside, crisp, clean, touched with the scent of grass and distant pine. You feel yourself hovering at the edge of sleep, your eyelids heavy, your thoughts drifting like soft clouds. The conductor turns once more toward the carriage. "Travel well," he says quietly. The woman in the shawl rises gently, as if she has been awake all along. The elderly reader closes his book with a satisfied smile. The young traveler stretches softly. Each passenger steps off the train calmly, without hurry. When it is your turn, you find that your suitcase feels lighter than before, almost weightless. You step down onto the wooden platform. The boards creak softly beneath your feet, just as they did at midnight, but now they are warmed by early sunlight. The conductor tips his hat once more. "Until the next quiet night," he says. You blink slowly, and in that single blink, the train is gone. No dramatic departure, no thunder of wheels. The tracks lie empty before you. It's only faint wisps of steam linger briefly in the morning air before dissolving completely. The platform stands silent. Birds sing from nearby trees. The sun lifts a little higher above the hills, and you realize something remarkable. You are not standing on a railway platform. You are standing in your own room. Morning light filters gently through your window. The quiet hum you hear is not rails. It is the soft rhythm of your own breathing. Your pillow cradles your head just as the velvet seat did. Your blanket rests across you like the warm lantern glow from the carriage. The midnight rail has completed its journey, not across miles, but across the quiet spaces within you. The forests have released their whispers. The lanterns have dimmed. The windowed glen has folded its glowing stories back into the earth, and the starlit conductor has tipped his hat one final time. Outside your window, dawn stretches fully now. The sky is pale blue. The world is calm. There is no rush waiting for you in this moment. It's only softness, only stillness. Your breathing remains slow, even, untroubled. If sleep has already claimed you, it holds you gently now. If you hover at its edge, it invites you kindly. The midnight rail through silent forests will travel again when needed. It always does, but for now, rest. Drift, let the last faint echo of the rails fade into the background. Click, clack, click, and then silence. Warm, peaceful, complete, good night, or perhaps good morning. Either way, you are home.
There's nothing else you need to listen for now. Just let your breathing stay slow and easy. If you're still awake, that's okay. And if you're drifting off, let yourself go gently. I'll be right here next time. Rest well and good night.